Welcome back, YouTube. This is BalorMage, and this is our last budget build guide that we're doing this league. This, as it won the poll, is our Death's Oath Occultist, done on a budget. So I'd like to start off with the budget, which actually went just a little bit over the 20x that I was hoping for. So it's got lots and lots of room to grow. I could easily spend another 40x on this, but it ended up costing me about 22, somewhere between 22 and 23x instead of 20. I would like to see people have at least 25 sitting around to build it themselves first. It's just a tiny bit over our 20x budget, but it worked really, really, really well. So to start with, the whole build is based around this Death's Oath aura, which is just an aura around myself that's constantly on, that acts exactly like Righteous Fire does, except in a larger area and as chaos. Once we hurt something, it does hurt us a little bit, which we counter with regen and chaos res. Just to demonstrate what I mean is when we walk near stuff, it just dies. There's just an aura on my chest that just kills stuff whenever we walk by. So this is basically the ultimate walking simulator, essentially. That's the whole purpose of the build. So we do that. We scale chaos damage over time and such. We scale our max chaos res up a little bit. What I will do is show you it does have relatively low finished DPS. This is our Sirus DPS, only sitting at about 2 million, which is not incredibly high numbers wise, but it is worth noting that it feels a lot higher than that because it is practically permanent uptime. We do have a caustic arrow to add to our single target in a bow here. In fact, this is half the budget of the build, is just to get the bow. The bow itself was 12x. But it's pretty important, and I think caustic arrow is at least my favorite or best way to get the single target you need to be able to kill just basic map bosses and Sirus and stuff. This can kill Elder and Shaper and Uber Elder and Maven. I wouldn't take it anywhere near a feared fight. It doesn't do enough damage for that. Its big benefit is that it slows bosses by quite a bit. So it's capable of bossing, but it is definitely a mapping build more than a bossing build. So we have some examples here. For instance, Flags McGee, whatever his name is. You can see this is a level 81 map. These are all rolled to like 70-ish% quant. I don't remember what the things were, but they're never super bad ones when I do these. And you can see it does get slowed by a lot. So when it comes out of this, it does struggle to hit us. It makes the fight very safe. The build is relatively tanky. It's certainly not bad, but the single target is not the highest. Basically, you will be able to kill your Guardians and your Sirus when they come up, but it would not be a build that I would build specifically for the purpose of killing bosses. That would not be something this can do. It is just capable of doing the bosses that you are going to encounter while mapping. But my favorite part is especially shown in this boss fight, where you can see just how slow all the attacks from the bosses become. You can see how much time we get between all the attacks, how slowly they move. It's just very, very hard to even get hit. It just, with the amount that we slow their action speed, it's just ridiculously easy to dodge pretty much everything with what feels like significantly more than 2 million DPS, just because the uptime is much better. However, what this really is a mapping build. So here's our 82% quant tier 16 full scarabs, a Jun mission, a Zana mod. There's sextants on. We're doing pretty much everything except Delirium here. We've got King Harvey packs in here from Valdo's Rest. We have no problem at all killing King Harveys. We basically just stand around. It is Not like super tanky, but it is moderately tanky. And probably the most fun build that I've played out of this entire budget series. This one was my favorite. You can tell because I've made it to level 94 on this character in just a few days, because it really doesn't die very much at all, and it's incredibly fun. And if we just unmute, I don't know if you can hear that on YouTube, but it makes all those really nice pop sounds that Occultist makes every time it pops everything with its little AoE pops, which all feel really good. Absolutely my favorite build of the entire budget series. It's perfectly capable of doing all of the Jun stuff inside maps, and as juiced as you can put them. I did do one 40% delirious map and it was no problem at all, didn't even slow me down. Then the 160% I put in got a little bit dicey. I still did it, but it wasn't as fast as I would like. And I imagine if you went up to 80 or 100, it wouldn't handle those. So it is not for them, but it is for otherwise juiced normal high mapping tier 16s. I'm very happy with it. We will go over what is not very important. So this is very important for the Ixquabala, I don't know how to pronounce that at all, Glorious Vanity, because that gives us Divine Flesh. However, I have tested this and it makes almost no difference to not have Cult of the Chaos. I happened to be able to get one with Cult of the Chaos here for +1 max res. I was also able to get +1 max res on my quiver, but not having either of those things still puts us at actually that gives me all my chaos res, so I can't take it off. That's a pity. So that would put us at okay, so I can't demonstrate right now because I've balanced my chaos res around having that node, but not having that max one and that max one still puts us at 81, which is still really perfectly fine. So it's not super important to have max res for chaos on either of those, but this node is mandatory. We do need the 5 because we've got 5 there and 1 here, which gives us +6 in our max chaos res. And then you do want to cap it. That'll be 81. That'll be perfectly fine. If you're lucky enough to get max chaos res there, that's great. If you're lucky enough to get max chaos res there, that's great. There were quite a few options and quite a few different ways to run defenses on this build. You'll have to look up PoE Ninja if you want a really good list of all of the different options. But the auras I went with was just I could only afford a level 3 Enlighten, so I put that with Malevolence. And what I did was I put an Enhance to enhance the quality of my Temp Chains and Despair, which are with Woke Blasphemy, which is quite nice. Those are quite good. It does up the mana cost, which is why I don't have a Vitality. Now, in an ideal world, if I was going to invest further in this, the things that would happen is first I would have a level 4 Enlighten, and then I would take Steel Skin off a cast when damage taken. Right? I would link it to Life Tap, probably, and then move my Flame Dash into here, move my Totem over there, put basically the idea is to get rid of the cast when damage taken slot so that we can fit in one more aura. That aura would be Vitality. The only weak point of this build is that my actual raw recovery is relatively low, and with a Vitality that would go up to around about 480. I could get a max level Vitality in, so that would be one of my goals if I was to invest more money into it. As far as the crown is concerned, we are using 2 magic rings, which is very nice. So we are crit immune, curse immune, and enemies are unlucky while damaging us. Obviously the despair curse effect was really good. A malevolence aura reservation effect would have also been great, because that would have let us put in a Vitality, but when I looked there were only 2 of them available and they were much more expensive than curses, so I went with the curse one because more people will be able to do that when they see the video. But if all the curse ones get brought up, for curse effect. Do remember that Malevolence Reservation is also good. Temp Chains aura effect is also good. We don't mind Temp Chains aura effect. You could take the enhance out, right, and then fit in a vitality in that set as well if you wanted to do that. You could also get a level 4 enlighten, take the enhance out, get a malevolence aura effect one, and fit in an extra curse by taking Whispers of Doom, and you could put in enfeeble or something else for more defenses if you wanted to. There are tons and tons and tons of different things that you could do. This build had more legitimately good options than most builds that I look at. Most builds that I look at just have a lot of people doing stuff wrong and then a few good things, and I take them and I put them together in what I think is the best way. This build had a lot of different ways and a lot of different ways that looked viable. So this realistically is just the way I chose to do it. It's not necessarily the best. I don't know. I would have to experiment for weeks with all the different setups to figure out which one's the best, but it feels great and it's the way I'm preferring. The other thing I would do if I was to invest more would be to take another cluster setup and put it up here. A second cluster setup would be important. You could see we've started to take floating nodes here. I've taken this 12% damage over time node, taken this 20% increased damage node. I've taken floating baby life nodes. I've taken this 12% area node, which I don't actually need. So there's I even respect my tree from pathing down here to pathing over here for one extra travel node so I could pick up even more life. There's just a lot of extra points that I've spent now that I didn't really need. So I could path back through here. I could drop those two nodes, those life nodes, that node, drop those two, connect here, and come in here for an entire second cluster setup, which would add quite a bit of damage, but we did not have that available to us in the budget because we are already over budget, like I said at the beginning, and I didn't want to make it too far over budget. I wasn't set on sticking to exactly 20x because if a build requires 22 to feel good, it would be stupid to arbitrarily limit myself to 20 when I'm that close. But as you can see, in this build, I don't even have a Watcher's Eye. I do have a Corrupted Blood hidden potential because it was 30C, and getting Corrupting Blood was important. You still kill stuff with Occultist pops, you still kill stuff with your own damage over time, and plenty of the Corrupting Blood things still affect you, so I went with that because it was cheap and we happened to be wearing 2 magic rings. It does make it 44% increased damage, which is pretty decent. You can get a much better regular jewel, but again, keeping to the budget. The only other important or expensive item in here was Intuitive Leap, which was a few X. But before I took this node, which was just an extra floater node, one of the last ones I took, that Intuitive Leap lets you take Charisma and the 4% mana node and the Chaos Res Max Res Chaos damage node, and also one of the Chaos damage over time multiplier travels. So it's a pretty damn efficient Intuitive Leap. So I thought it was worth it. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Like with all of them, I do have a Sirus 9 kill, which I'm not going to bother showing on the video because it takes too much time. It is, however, only a 4-minute fight from here where I'm waiting for them to talk. So it's not that long. It's 4 minutes and 48 seconds. I will link the highlight from this Sirus kill in the description of the video. The only other thing worth mentioning is, but Balor, what about a Forbidden Taste? I used to have a Forbidden Taste. I had a Forbidden Taste as my life flask for quite a while, and I found that it just wasn't necessary. I never really lost, 80% of my life at once, but what I did do was often lose a quarter or half of my life and want to flask back up, and the Forbidden Taste just didn't have enough flask charges for me, and I found myself running out of them, and it was really annoying. And changing into just a Panic Eternal life flask gave me another way to get anti-bleed, which probably didn't need, but the important part is it just gave me more life flask charges and it just felt better and safer. If you want to use a Forbidden Taste, use the Forbidden Taste. You really don't take any damage from it at all. It's definitely usable, but I ended up preferring a normal one. But yeah, this was my most fun build of the entire budget series. Definitely not the highest damage, but having only 2 mil damage, I think it might actually be my lowest damage in raw numbers, but it has felt the most fun to play. Absolutely my favorite one out of the entire budget series from this league. So I hope everybody enjoys it, and I will see everybody later. Goodbye.